What's happening, YouTube? Back in the day gamer here. Thanks for tuning into my channel. A little while back we covered the games I beat last year in 2023. And today we're going to cover the games I am going to beat, plan on beating, my backlog-ish. The top ones off that for 2024. As is customary on this channel, before we get into the games, we're going to crack open a beverage. Today we've got a beverage that was sent to us from our buddy, Drinks and Games with Josh, from Black Flag Brewing Company. It's called Basic B. And he knows I enjoy me a good pumpkin beer, not just any pumpkin beer, but a good one. And today their basic beer is pumpkin pie ale brewed with maple syrup, honey, and spices. I'm looking forward to digging into this almost as much as digging into this pile of games. So I've got 10 games here. So I guess this is my top 10 games I'm going to beat in 2024. I picked, hold on a second here. Cheers. Josh, thanks buddy. That is good. That is good. Doesn't have that fake pumpkin taste. I like it. Thanks, buddy. I knew you wouldn't do me wrong. So, I got 2 games from each of my 5 favorite systems. I left out Game Boy just because I left it out. I figured 10 was a good number to roll with. So, we're going to start with the 2 games from the Sega Genesis because I have vowed in 2024 to give the Sega Genesis more love, and these are 2 banger titles that definitely are getting play. This is probably first. Shining Force 2. Back when the shutdown happened in 2021, the first thing I did, knowing I was getting holed up at home, was start playing an RPG. That RPG was Shining Force 1. I'd never played it. I heard lots of good things. It was fantastic. So, probably a year or so later when I rolled across Shining Force 2 at one of my local spots, I picked it up. I'm ashamed that it's cart only and no box because I'm a Genesis in-box kind of guy, but whatever, I can live without the clamshell since this game's so fantastic. But anyhow, Shining Force 2, great game. Much like the first one, the art style and graphics are fantastic. Not having played this one yet, I can't speak for the story, but so far with the intro and starting the game, there was a good story. There was a good story in the first one, and since everyone speaks highly of it, I'm sure it's going to continue on into part 2. Gameplay, really like the gameplay on the first one. Once again, only put a little bit of time into this one, but you know, it's a tactical RPG where you move on the grid. Not always my cup of tea, but I do enjoy it in the Shining Force saga. It's, I don't know, there's really not that many games I know of on the retro systems that I play that are that type of game, but I enjoyed the first one a hell of a lot. And from what I've seen, part 2 is just a continuation, hopefully, with small quality of life improvements. If not, at least it stays the same. That would make me very happy. So honestly, well, these are, 10 bangers I really want to play, but Shining Force 2 is real close to the top. It might be next up, but we'll get to that. The other Sega Genesis game I plan on playing is a rental story from back in the day, but Shining in the Darkness. So, Shining in the Darkness, like I said, rental memory from back in the day. One of the few people I knew that had a Genesis, because everybody back in the day in my group of friends were all Super Nintendo. Almost no one had a Sega Genesis. He was one of the few, and one of the nights on the weekend I spent the night at his place, and we rented this one, and we played the shit out of it. I've always been an RPG guy. This is an RPG, so it made for a good time. Now, I love the art style and graphics on Shining in the Darkness as well. I think I like them even better than the Shining Force games, but I don't like this game as much as this Shining Force. Now, I love that it's a turn-based RPG. I don't love that it's a first-person dungeon crawler. That's a lot of times a deal breaker for me, but not all the time, and not in this one. There's another game on this list also that's a first-person dungeon crawler, but we're talking about Shining in the Darkness. So, some of the overworld map I think looks great. It's got lots of cool enemies. The dungeon crawling, it's really smooth. It's not choppy, stop and go. I mean, that stuff was more on the 8-bit games. I think they kind of did away with the choppiness on the 16-bit ones, but I like it. It's fun. It's smooth. This is not renowned to be a fantastic game, but I always liked it. Maybe it's because of nostalgia, the rental memory I had for it, but I mean, if you've played it, you know what I'm talking about. It's a very decent first-person dungeon crawler. And being on Genesis, it also has many other good things going for it. Sound. It's not fantastic, but it's good. I like the characters in it, like I said. When you're in the tavern, I think that part kicks ass. You're just talking to the guys, hanging out. So there's my top 2 from the Sega Genesis for this year. Next up, we're going with 2 from the Super Nintendo. Now this game here... Oh, hold on a second, I'm getting parched. This game here is a hell of a banger. Twice now, throughout the probably 8 years I had this game, I've played pretty far through it. And then one time I think the save stopped working, and one time I think I just got frustrated. But we're getting through it this year. Definitely getting through this game this year. It's one of the top picks on this list, and it's Evo. Evo Search for Eden is the technical name for this Super Nintendo title that I have always liked from the moment I got it. This game just has a ton of substance all over the place with the things I like about this game. I really like it. Everything about it is a ton of fun. Evolution, it's the whole theme behind it. You start as the smallest of creature, and you consume plants or other creatures smaller than you, and you power up when you consume them. You get some experience points, and then you don't just level up, but you get to choose body parts that you level up, and the exact species or creature you become. It's super unique, fantastic, love it. The graphics and controls in this game are just absolutely spot on. Just that it's such a great touch that you don't just get experience points. You kill something and then you eat it, and that's how you power up. I think that's just badass. I can't speak highly enough about that. There's different chapters in the game where you beat one chapter, and then if you've maxed out that certain animal, you got like amphibians and mammals and whatnot, but there's different chapters, so several times you start over as the lowest and bulk back up again. But that was just another great element. There's lots of RPG elements here in the game that just, obviously, back in the day gamer, loves some RPG. The storyline is fantastic. There's lots of cool boss fights. Like I said, this game just has a whole lot going for it, and I give it an A+ for creativity. Evo. Yeah, play that one. I doubt any of you are going to be as excited as I am about this next title, so we're not really going to talk that much about it, but it's back in the day gamer loves himself a fishing game, and this is my all-time favorite fishing game, and I've never actually beat it. So I'm going to this year, and it's Bassmasters Classic, but you have to have the Pro Edition. There's a difference. If you don't have the Pro Edition, the game's not the same, and it's not as good. Bassmasters Classic Pro Edition. That's all we're going to say about that, because I'm not going to win any points with fishing games. That's 2 from the Super Nintendo. Now we're going to move on to the Sega Master System. That's right. Never talk about the Sega Master System. It deserves more love. Even less people had a Master System in my group of friends that had a Genesis. 2. I think it was 2. And well, we're just going to start off with this one. This is my all-time favorite arcade game. And the Master System port is obviously not true to the source, but it's still a good game. Since I've never beat it on the arcade either, because just when you get to the last board, you can't continue anymore, and it's tough as hell. So I don't know if you can continue past that on this, but we're talking about fucking Rastan. Holy shit, do I love me some Rastan. Fucking everything about this game. Another story, back in the day, the In-N-Out. You know what I'm talking about? The Quickie Mart. There was an In-N-Out right by my house, and that's where I did most of my arcade playing back in the day. And this was one of the first games they had, or that I remember playing, maybe because it was just the best one, it sticks in my head, but Rastan the arcade is fucking phenomenal. Love it. But the Sega Master System is a big downgrade, but it's still fun, and I still love it. The music in the arcade is phenomenal. When you get to the, there's always a castle board at the end of each stage, and you know what I'm talking about, and it's timed, and when the time's running short, the music gets faster and faster, gets you all stressed out. Phenomenal. Love it. The music in this one's good too. It's, the Sega Master System though, so not talking about the same ballpark. I like this game so much, I used to sit and draw maps of the levels in school. That's how much I loved it. Rastan, you're basically Conan, swinging the sword around. Fucking fantastic. Enemies are cool, like the environments. There's boss fights. Back in the day, gamer loves some boss fights. These boss fights are not spectacular. Some of them are good, some of them aren't, but I still like them either way. I believe I have some sort of compilation game for, it's either Xbox or PlayStation 2 that has Rastan on it, which is very close to the arcade, and that's the one I played the most. I haven't had Rastan on the Master System for quite as long as I'd had that. But fun fact, this copy right here was actually owned by the Angry Video Game Nerd. Now, I'm sure it wasn't a copy that he played, it was just one he sold at a convention, but appears to be a fact. Unless Captain Retro lied to me. I don't think he'd lie to me about that. I think it was after I bought it and we were drinking Jaeger at the bar. No, I remember. It was when I was buying it, but that does appear to be a fact. It didn't up the price. It was still cheap because it's Rastan on the Master System. It's not super fantastic, but the next Master System game we're going to talk about absolutely is. And if you know me, or you could guess, I'm going to say Phantasy Star. Right? Yeah, Phantasy Star. This is one of my all-time favorite RPGs, and once again, I still have not beat it. That's why it's here in this video. There was a few times where I started playing it, and then one time I just pissed off. Another time I got trapped in a dungeon because you can save anywhere. And if you're unfortunate enough to save in the wrong place and you can't get out, well, that's what happened to me. This last time I started playing it, 8 months ago, I actually graphed out the dungeons on graph paper, step by step, and oddly enough, as I said before, it was fun, so there must be something wrong with me. But that's a big flaw in this game, that it doesn't have a map. That sucks. If so, this game would be an absolute 100% A+. Instead, it's just a 97. But we'll get to it later, but there's a couple flaws. But normally, I'm not a sci-fi guy, but I do like this one a lot. It makes no difference to me that it's not the swords and sorcery genre, it's sci-fi. I just have always loved it from the second I played it. The enemies have a hit point meter or a countdown. Oh, fuck, I hate when RPGs don't have that. I'm just guessing at how much power the fucking enemies have left. But in this game, they have it. Another game that just has a ton of substance. You travel to different planets. There's something different happening on every planet. Just love this game. Almost love everything about it. There's 3 drawbacks. One, I already said, no map. Okay? If you played the game, you know what I'm talking about. I know they redid it a couple of years ago. You can get it on the Switch and PlayStations and shit, and it's got a map, which would be fantastic. But back in the day, there was no map, so I can't play that version because no, the only thing I can do is either guess or graph it out myself, and that's what I did, and it was rough. Second thing I don't like about this game is that some parts are just cryptic as fuck. There's sometimes just no way to figure things out except a blind guess or massive trial and error. And then the third thing that I don't like about this game, and these are small gripes because this game's fucking fantastic, is that it's a first-person dungeon crawler. Some of the time. You got the overhead view, which is, just fine, but when you're in the dungeon, it's first-person dungeon crawler, and that's not great. But if it had a map, it would be. Moving on to something, fucking Phantasy Star. Game is awesome. Can't wait to beat it. Can't wait. Moving on to something a little newer, because back in the day, Gamer almost exclusively plays old shit from back in the day. But I'm mixing the Switch in there because years ago my wife bought me one because I expressed that I wanted one because it was easier to play arcade games. They were porting a lot of arcade games to it right when it came out, and there's really no other way to do that except being an arcade. So I expressed my interest. She got it for me for my birthday, and it snowballed from there. But I really like the new games that they're making in the old school style. And you know what I'm gonna say here? This game's fucking fantastic. Octopath Traveler 2, holy shit. I played through Octopath Traveler 1 also during the shutdown. Oh man, that's a good beer. Thanks, Josh. It was awesome. 2 is even better. Sequels aren't always better. Well, nothing's always better, but sequels are hit and miss often for me, especially. This one's banging. It's got lots of quality life improvements that make it better than the first one. It's very similar to the first one. I'm exactly 80 hours in right now. I started it a few months ago, but I will be beating it this year because I could beat it. I could just sit down and finish it in one day, but I'm savoring it because there's not a lot of games that I play that are 80 hours because old school RPGs on the Super Nintendo, Sega Genesis, Nintendo, whatnot, they don't have a time counter. So I don't really know, but I can tell you that they're not fucking 80 hours. Octopath Traveler 2, love it. Couldn't recommend it enough. The first one, I think, was the greatest game I've ever played. And this one, so far, 80 hours in, almost at the end, is a little better. So I'm going to say that. Can't say it yet, but it's probably going to be the greatest game I ever played. A game I bought a couple of years ago. Second one for the Switch. It's still sealed here. I looked forward to it. I actually pre-ordered it, and I was super jazzed to play it right away, but life shit happened, and I'm getting to it this year. Dragon Quest XI. Echoes of an Elusive Age. Still sealed. That's why there'll be no game footage anyhow, but I don't know anything about this game. I heard it was kick-ass. Dragon Warrior 8 on the PlayStation 2 was something Return of the Cursed King or something. That was one of the top RPGs I'd ever played. It's been many years since I played it, but when I did play it, it blew my mind, and I'm hearing this is way better. That's getting cracked open this year. That seal's gonna get broke. This game's going down. Alright, that's 8. 2 more games. And I saved my favorite system for last. The Nintendo. Or, as you may force me to call it, the NES. I just played through 6 months ago the first one. So now we're moving on to... I want to do the whole series. I'm not saying this year, maybe though, but Dragon Warrior 2. I said 6 months ago, beat the first one. It was way better than I remembered. Had a lot of fun with it. Moving on to 2, and I'm 2/3 through it already and liking it a lot. This is also another sequel that has lots of improvements from the original. Right off the bat, you don't have to select stairs to traverse the stairs. I expressed how much I thought that was stupid. It has multiple characters, which is the best improvement of all. You don't just have one guy, you've got a party of them, and that's how an RPG should be. You got your party, your companions. Not only does it make it fun, but it obviously makes it easier because there's more of you. There's a lot more spells in this one right now. You know, I don't know if there's more characters for me to pick up. I think I got 3 or 4 characters or something now, but 2 of them have spells. So that's really a relief because there's a lot of long dungeons and grinds that multiple magic users really help out in. You know, there's, with all the Dragon Quest games, there's tons of cool and unique enemies. That's one of my favorite parts of the Dragon Warriors. You know, when I played through the first one back in the day, and now, but back in the day, I had the big sheet where it had the list of monsters and their hit points and all that shit. Like, I always thought that was really cool. You know, lots of games have lots of monsters, but you don't really know. Did I see them all? Whatever. But it's cool that this came with, well, the first one at least did, came with like that checklist of your monster manual. Thought that was super cool. Another big improvement that I liked a lot was you get a ship. Kind of doubled the playing field. Alright, what game did I save for last? This is one of the, it's a fancy box here. It's got a whole bunch of shit with it. This is one of the crown jewels of my collection. And when it came, I only played it for a brief moment. Because I knew I was going to save it for a special time. And sometime this year is going to be that special time. Got a story about this game. But first, I'm going to let you know what it is. The box is real shiny, so hopefully it doesn't totally get messed up. But Adventure Quest 8-Bit presents Dungeons and Doom Knights. You can't, I'm going to do some B-roll because this box is just banging. So, I was at a Midwest Gaming Classic a couple years ago, and the guy had his booth set up, and you walk by and you see very carefully show you this shiny gold cartridge. Obviously, I was intrigued. So he had it in a top loader, sat down and played it, and I was like, holy shit, yeah, sell this to me now. And he's like, oh, it's not out yet, so, you know, gonna have to wait a couple months, whatever, you can pre-order it. I was like, no, I need to leave with this. I'm buying this. And so began the trying to buy it. Failure. Everything is not always for sale. I mean, I didn't offer him an astronomical amount, but I did offer him much, much more than it was worth. And I really, really wanted to leave with it, but I did not. So I promptly ordered it, and I got the full package. Be careful. It's got all kinds of stuff. We're not going to really get into a whole lot, but one of the things that it came with that's super cool, I'm just going to show it to you briefly because I am going to do a review on this whole game because I'm super psyched, but it's got a cloth. So just as I was pulling it out, I saw that my recording stopped, but once again, it has a cloth map. This sucker's going up there on the wall. Like, do you have a cloth map from any game that you have? No, you don't. It's got all kinds of other shit too, posters but I mean, this box art, once again, you saw the B-roll, is my all-time favorite, absolute most beautiful box that I have ever seen. I don't collect boxes. I only have like 5 because they had to come with the game, blah, 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 but the gold cart as well, right? Like, don't you just want to buy it for that? But this game's fantastic. And I'm not going to show you any game footage because I'm going to force you to either go look it up on somebody else's channel or to come back for my video review of Dungeons and Doom Knights. It's going to be the crown jewel of my videos because I really think that that's my favorite game in my collection. It's not super expensive or anything like that, but I just, you know, trying to buy it from the guy that made it. Cloth map, box, gold cart, game's awesome too. So I want to say This is my... Oh, the kid. He said no, he's not. This is my #1 game for, I don't know if you want to say backlog, because I'm not calling this a backlog because there's a lot of games that could be in the backlog. These are the top 10 games I want to play this year. Real quick, didn't think about this ahead of time. I'm going to throw the top 3 out. #1, Octopath Traveler. #2, and you know, looking at them now, Evo is just so damn fun. I was gonna say Phantasy Star, but Evo is just so fun. So boom, there you go. Kids yelling, dogs barking. Guess we're ending this video. But those are the top 10 video games I'm gonna beat in 2024. Obviously, I plan on beating a lot more than 10 games. And I've got games for other systems that I didn't showcase. Maybe we'll throw that in another video. You know, there's some bangers on the Super Famicom, on the Game Boy Advance. Just off the top of my head, those go there. I know there's a lot of games, Halloween themed games I got lined up. Grabbed by the Ghoulies on the Xbox. Like so. But these are my top five systems. At least right now. You know, you always change your mind about shit, but that's it right there. Boom. Let me know what you think. Leave in the comments about some games I need to move on to this list, or just what games you're gonna do. Because if you're watching this channel, you know you got a big stack of games that you plan on playing. You don't end up getting to them. You're like, one day. Well, these are 10 bangers. That day needs to come this year. And it will. So thanks for tuning into my channel, you guys. Like, comment, subscribe, all that jazz. And until next time, keep it retro!